From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. Performed the Deanest nightly, never free from the deck. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double. The inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage to reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan out as crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tenth that was prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined. Where was next? Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double. The inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, this is and you are Under the Groove. Welcome everybody to Under the Groove Podcast. This is Thursday. We made it another day. Yeah. Don't take it for granted, man. Take it into consideration. A whole nother day on the compound, as I say. Here I am, and there you are. Welcome everybody. Peace and prosperity to you and yours. Let's get into this thing, man. All right, I see you up in here, James. Good to see you, bro. Front center. Salute right back to you, man. Yeah, I was trying to put some stuff together, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Shit, I been on the highway today. This, that, and the third. Came back, laid down, took a nap. Before I knew it was 5:30. Like, God damn. Right? But that's what it is, man. Said, what's going on with you? You already know, homie. Another day. Another day. I'm grateful. Here I am. What about yourself, man? How you been, man? How you do? Wasn't no road rage today, man. I mean, traffic was bumper to bumper, tell you the truth. I don't know. Today it was kind of crazy, kind of odd because I was prepared for it. You know, I wasn't, damn, you dumb MF. The hell, use your blinker, you know. Wasn't none of that. Had my oldies on. It was cool, man. I was cool. Yeah. Yep. This is what it is, y'all. I was trying to line up something for us to look at because I had a couple of things in mind. I actually got something, but there you go. All right, I got something. It's kind of like a long clip, but it's cool. 2 minutes. They ain't gonna hurt us. 2 minutes, man. You know, from the white tea's mouth, man. From the horse's mouth, I got some good shit. Yep. And this thing seemed to be going the way it's been going, right? Smoothly. You know, for every day that passes, that's, you know, another day in the books saying that, hey, man, yeah, we're pretty much done with you guys. We rather do our own thing. And I swear to you, man, I'm so pleased, proud of the people, you know, for taking a stand. Like I said, it should be all inclusive. It should be all inclusive, you know. Everybody got something to do with how we've been treated, what's going on. And so I think it should be all inclusive. Now, by the same token, we know this is being done to us, said about us and all this. At some point, we're going to have to take some responsibility ourselves and be like, all right, you know what? We know all this. Now it's on us to do something about all this. And that seems to be the course, or that's the direction we're headed in. I'm pleased to say that. I ain't gonna lie, man. You can't, you can't ask for more, especially from the people. Once you see the people are involved, and on a level, a scale, I think that's, that's really, well, shocking a lot of people. You can't thumb your nose at it. It's some real shit. The people said enough's enough, so here we go, let's do our thing. But again, I say, that's one thing to say, okay, we're gonna have group economics jumping off, da da da. What are we gonna do to establish a foundation for this, these economics, so to speak, these finances to be put in place? How are we going to put it in place to work for us? Put it like that. I was talking to a brother back and forth in the comments about this, and he said he's taking up bookkeeping. There's a step right there, and once our brothers and sisters get into that, then we have an avenue, a path, to jump to or to direct our focus on next. It's just not about, or shouldn't just be about, don't spend our money with people. Yeah, don't do that. Spend it with our people. Do that. But at the same time, accumulate these funds, know how to put this money into circulation that will benefit us. Can't beat that. Black banks, black credit unions. All right. If some don't exist, or if they don't exist, brothers and sisters with the know-how in talking about finances, or economics, get that shit established. What I'm noticing about a lot of our people, they're going into social media and they're posting up black businesses, and that should, or it would or should include black banks or black credit unions, so people know where to go put this money. But I suggest not just putting your money in there because it says black owned or black bank. Go in there and find out what that money is going to be used for. You know what I mean? Go in there and find out, okay, when X amount of dollars are, put in these institutions, what is that money being invested in as it sits and grows? You know what I mean? Make sure that these banks and credit unions aren't turning around and investing this money into businesses ran by, certain people that don't benefit us. Let's be mindful of that, So if we're going to make these moves, we got to know the moves we're making so that this thing works for us and no one else, where it's gonna help or aid others. But let's know who the hell, we're investing our money in, so that we can have a say as to whether or not, no, that's cool, or no, that ain't cool. I don't want my money invested with these people. That's the smart way to go. I think that is a logical step to take. It's not just about putting money in financial institution, black owned or not, and not knowing what they invest in. Now, I'm not sure if it's mandatory that they let you know, these banks, credit unions, how they invest that money. But if they value you as a customer, I don't think that should be something that they would keep from the public. Yeah, I think that type of get out should be open to the public, especially if they invest in this bank. But that's something we should think about, man. What are these banks' investments? Hedge funds, whatever. Make sure it ain't no private prisons. Or these corporations that, behind the scenes, or very deep, in their bylaws or whatever it is that they construct, make sure that business is ran right. It's not something that's gonna be, or that is used against us. Like I say, a lot of AI companies, they don't agree with us. A lot of AI is put out there just for us. It's put out there to spy on us and shit like that. So be mindful of who you invest your money in. I just want to say that, whether they black or not, know where that money that's sitting in that bank, what it's invested in as it sit there, how they, accrue more money. You know, if it's Nike, I would say nah. Private prisons, I would say nah. Even marijuana farms, I would say nah. You know, I've actually had marijuana stock before, you know, and you know, they got a lot of practices and stuff, shit they do that's harmful to us. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, nah, you know. If somebody probably thinking, what about liquor? You know, liquor businesses. I'd be like, nah, you know, you know. If it's construction, a construction firm, something like that, a law firm that make good money, a black law firm, black construction firm, some type of, you know, black manufacturer, something like that, right? I'd be, oh hell yeah, let's get it, because we know that for the most part, their business, what they do is geared towards black people, you know, improving or empowering black people. I'll be all for that. Real spit. Real spit. Jeffrey Coleman said, keep up the good work, bub. Appreciate that, Mr. Coleman. All right. Good to see you up in here. You know, already know what this is. It's Underground, Under the Groove Podcast TV, man. Appreciate your presence, bro. Thank you for showing up. All right. Let me get up in here, like I say, right quick. But back to that point. Make sure it's getting to that. Our money is put into a financial institution that understands the needs of the people. It understands the investments, you know, based upon the money that's put inside of this institution, that investment, that money goes to an investment that serves the people, that's about the people. Some would say, well, what about Microsoft? You know, right? What about Google? What about Amazon? You know, what about, right? I don't know. That's something that, you know, you got to be mindful of, something that you got to be all right with, you know. Again, like I said, if it's Nike, I would be like, nah, I wouldn't give Nike nothing. You know, I just wouldn't, you know. But for liquor corporation, I wouldn't give them nothing. Marijuana corporations or businesses, I wouldn't give them nothing, you know. What about Target? I wouldn't give them nothing. What about Walmart? I wouldn't give them nothing. You know what I mean? I understand their history. I understand how they get down, how they feel about us, you know, so I wouldn't do that. But anything that, well, not anything, because all things black aren't always about black. You know what I mean? So that I would just be mindful of that, man, my investments, you know. And that's not to say that I haven't, or we haven't, this family invested in, you know, white corporations. You know, I'll just be more mindful now, and especially under the circumstances, to invest in those businesses or institutions that are going to cater to us before anybody else. That's all I'm saying. So that's the pivot. That should be the pivot, knowing that we're doing what we're doing. Okay, boom, let's jump to this next, you know, this square. Let's stand on it. Investment, you know, or where we put our money. What type of financial institution we put our money in matters, all right? Because this thing is going to get bigger and bigger. And at some point, we'll start to see, if we continue to do what we're doing, we'll start to see money in the community. It will start to flow, especially if we stick to the script. Stay the course. Stay the course. Invest the money in the community, in your neighborhood, with a black business, you know. And be mindful as to whether or not that black business is actually owned and ran by a black. Call it what it is, all right? Be sure, be mindful of that, you know. You ain't got to ask them their financial business, you know, but as long as they cater to you and they, you know, they keeping it 100, keeping it above board with the people in the community and in the neighborhoods, that should be what matters at that point. You know, nothing else. You know, we just want to make sure our brothers and sisters who are entrepreneurs, who are business people, get the support they need so that we can start to do the things that we need to do. I was making a comment yesterday about switching the roles, right? Our brothers and sisters from back in the day, Tulsa, you know, the Carolinas, you know, how, you know, all over this country, black communities, you know, establishing, you know, themselves in an era or time where it was deemed impossible for them to do because the system did not support them whatsoever. They were in segregation, and yet they did what they did, right? And the thought where I was ending with, I ended with this yesterday. what if, I mean, just hypothetical, of course, if them brothers and sisters from back then were in our shoes today and we were placed in their shoes back in the day, what do you think? You know, and I swear I went to sleep on that one. I thought about it a great deal. I dreamed about it. And hey, man, they put us to shame again. You know, they would come here and be like, oh, there are not that many barriers and restrictions of the day. I mean, the game is still the game, but man, they were so intelligent that I'm pretty sure would have gotten the shit done. This be like child's play to them, you know, even with all the barriers and restrictions and the regulate, this would be like child's play to them. You know, they would run this shit. They would run this shit in the way they did it then. I'm pretty sure they would do it the same way now. You know, stick within themselves, within their community, you know, amongst themselves. You know, they would probably do business outside of the melanated people, but I'm pretty sure they would have had that shit down pat, down to a science, even in terms of how they did business, when they did business, and why they did business with people other than the melanated persuasion. You know what I mean? We, on the other hand, we back then, boy, we'd have been, oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know. I want to say, you know, disorganized. Disorganized. You know, we would have had a rough time of it, man. And ain't no telling, man. As many, you know, sellouts as we have today, back then, we'd have been in trouble. We'd be in trouble, you know. We be in the thick of things for real, for real. But yeah, just think about that, man. The opportunities that we have today, our brothers and sisters, our ancestors back then didn't have those opportunities or these opportunities that are in front of us, you know. They didn't have them, and yet they got that shit done. They impressed upon everybody their ability, their ingenuity, you know, their intelligence. They impressed that upon everybody. And people who ran shit knew, oh, it's just a matter of time before they doing way better than us. I mean, they're already doing better than a lot of white communities, you know, in that time. But, you know, they knew you couldn't get them another 5 years. You know what I mean? You know, shit, man, them here today, they be running this thing, man. They be running this thing here, man. So if I had a side to choose from, I said, okay, let me go back there in them times, segregation, we gonna get it done. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't think twice about it, man. Anyway, let's get in these comments, man. James say, man, I'm taking it one day at a time, my brother. Thanks for asking, but we always got a lot of work to do. Our people are in dire need. That's the point, man. And I appreciate you making that point, or, you know, expounding upon and building on it. Let's put it out there, man. Our people are in dire need. You know what I mean? And somebody might ask, in dire need of what? Whole lot of shit, you know, whole lot of shit. A whole lot. Let's put it like that. Now, you, if you're listening and you check it out, you put it in the comments, and I'll read it. Take it from there. But we are in dire need, man. Good point, James. You know, peace, love, and respect to all the brothers and sisters in the RGC and in chat as well. We got too many enemies in this world. It's disgusting. Yeah, I noticed the games people play. For instance, if you trip off, I want to, you know, shift right quick, you know, some geopolitics. Iran, the shit they in with the United States and Israel, and how Iran is just out there in terms of black people, you know what I mean? Or it being said that they, you know, have a lot of respect for black people here in the United States, just based upon what they know we've been through, right? They haven't experienced it, we did, but they're paying, you know, let's not say homage, but they recognize that it's been a struggle for us over here. And I thought about that. I said, okay, man, now before all this, where was around? You know, again, it's like a lot of people, man, you know, until they, you know, think there's a need to use us, utilize us, manipulate us, we don't hear from them. You know, we don't hear from them. I mean, yeah, of course, we see what's happening to them. We've been there and done, we've been through that. But it's always only after the fact that, you're getting some of what we've been getting for hundreds of years that, boom, people, oh, the blacks, like they're just now seeing us. Or they forgot we were there. They saw us, back in late 70s, recognized us, whatever, whatever. But right after that, forgot about us. But this is what we're seeing in the world, man. So even Iran in its conflict or what it's going through is, basically shouting out the black people. For what? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why Iran would be talking to or wanting to send messages of support and encouragement to black people. Hey, man, truthfully speaking, we got our own fight. There's actually absolutely nothing we can do to help Iran, other than, go on social media and say, hey, man, look at what America's doing to another people. You know what I mean? Look at this, how they do. We've been telling y'all, that's the only support we can give you. So other than that, I don't understand why they do it. And then we're talking about a part of the world, again, that don't have a great deal of respect for us and our brothers and sisters over in that region. So, it kind of boggles the mind. It's baffling sometimes. But again, I understand how people react or how they act when they're under the gun. They look for that support. They look for, assistance or an ear, you know what I mean, to be heard. So ain't nothing wrong with that in and of itself. Other than, again, I don't know what the motive is, why they do it, why they've said it, but it's been said. Same thing with Russia. Soon as Trump come back in, Russia want to open its votes and wants to show the world religion back when religion was really a thing, you know what I mean? And it showed it all these depictions, these old sculptures and paintings, of black royalty throughout the world, running, countries. And, when I first saw, I said, them, Russia been had that. Why they ain't show nobody that before they got into the war with Ukraine and the NATO and the United States? Why? Come on, why? Again, this is what I'm saying about people and how they interact with us. I don't think that's respectful. I don't think that was respect at all. If we look at it as we should, it's disrespect. Now you've been had this. You've been had this historical, knowledge and identity of black people, but you didn't say nothing. You didn't say nothing, not even in 2014 when that shit started. You didn't open the votes and say, hey, look, black people, here's some of y'all history right here that they don't want y'all to know about. So everything, man, to me, man, when people mention us, there's an ulterior motive. That's what I need to say. That's what I wanted to say. And none of them are different in that. They're all the same. They're all the same. When we're mentioned by other people, we're mentioned as an ulterior motive, not as full-fledged recognition, respect or homage, being paid to us, historical, respect. That ain't never how it's done. It's only after they find themselves in some shit or somebody then piss them off enough to where, well, I got this, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna tell the black people the truth. When you had this shit in your votes for hundreds of years, you know what I mean? Crazy work, man. Crazy work. And again, this is the attitude we see amongst other demographics all over the world, not just here in America. When we talk about the Asians, and a lot of our brothers and sisters will tell you in a minute, man, we're Asiatic people. That was our shit. We But even places like China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, all these places, Malaysia, melanated people, I mean, they have the receipts, man. There's proof. And for the most part, nobody says anything until it serves them. That's the problem I have with a lot of these demographics. And so that's why I tend to think the way I do. All right, man. No, y'all ain't cool with us when, the shit was good for y'all. Only when shit get bad, y'all say, oh yeah, and by the way, man, we got y'all back. Look, this what we got, this what we know. We respect this. We nah, man, it's all crap. So I'm very mindful of that, man. And I'm not quick to give my support to other demographics just because they say they down with us. I don't buy that shit for a minute, and no disrespect, I'd say that respectfully, but unapologetically, I think that's bullshit, you know. We've been in this fight for a very, very long time, and we've been telling people for a very, very long time, these people are usurpers. These people are enslavers. These people are colonizers. These people are genocidal. We've been saying it. These people are corrupt. These people are evil. We've been saying this a long time, and no one's listened. No one's listened. And so it's always should be a red flag to any of us when one of these demographics pop out of nowhere, showing the depictions and artifacts with our faces on them since before the ruling, party, or before those who are in power now, like, all right, man, what's the gig, man? What are you up to? What do you want? That's how I always look at it, man. That's how I always look at it. Anyway, James going to say, man, I'm not a consumer, bub. I would say for the last 10 years, strong, I haven't bought any unnecessary BS. No wants, strictly needs, necessities, and fundamentals. I can let me, think before I speak, man, because I tell you, I'm, and I say my family knows it, and I don't have a problem with saying I'm frugal. I'm real frugal. I'm thrifty even, But when it comes to spending, yeah, I don't, I don't do that like that. If I'm gonna spend some money, it's gonna be on, home improvements, shit like that, or something that can be considered an asset, shit like that. I don't go out, I don't buy Jordans. I don't wear jewelry, you know what I mean? That's just me. I don't need Louis, Gucci, any of that shit. I don't, hey, hey, got a few suits, what more than a few, but hey, man, a pair of 501s, man, sometimes some khakis, man, some sweats. When it's time to dress up, I'm straight in that department. But yeah, I'm like you, if it's a necessity, yeah, we got to have it. I got a lot of wants, but I don't cater to them. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, bro. I get exactly what you're saying. Money be funny too. They don't make no sense, man, on spending on some shit that you ain't got no need for. Not now. Not no real money, But anyway, you go on to say, man, saving money is important. And I know there's too many opportunities out there to have money wasted. And there's a big difference to me between wasting money and spending it. Spending is important. Now, speaking of that, I think part of the problem with that, especially with our people, is we don't really understand the concept of the dollar. There's actually a real purpose behind the dollar, other than having it. So I got a wallet, let me go, and spend it unnecessarily, I mean, you see it all day on social media, this unnecessary spending of money. What a lot of dudes, I used to think that what a lot of dudes are wearing on their neck and wrist, that was, an investment that could really, grow, rather than, the investment in the jewelry that, you lose value in, like, automobile, you go buy it, so you drive it off the lot, it loses its value. You know what I mean? Those aren't considered good investments or good, wise, spending the money, but you see it all the time, you see where brothers and sisters don't really get it. They don't really get it. Crazy work, man. Crazy work. And, for the most part, when we see this, it's all about trying to impress somebody. It's about trying to impress somebody. And, that's been in the community a long time. you know, want to, have the finery on, looking dapper, sharp as a tack, suited and booted, dressed to the nines, all this shit. That's some crazy shit that go way back, man. And that's one of the things we waste a lot of money on, these outfits, these clown suits and shit, this get up, this garb we be wearing, be looking like clowns, honestly, dressing up to look like clowns from a circus. I have to say that, you said investing money. This is James. Investing money is the ultimate goal for the longevity of financial stability. But not everyone is in a position to save when some of us are living off crumbs. Tell the truth, man. Tell the truth. And those who are surviving on crumbs, man, you want to, be like, hey, man, I see you, man. Alley. Give them their dues, give them their props. Because, that's rough. That's rough. You're getting by on tools and fuels. You know what I mean? That's some rough shit. When you're living in a society where everything costs, and for the most part, sometimes you don't have enough to deal with all this shit that's coming down the pipes at you. Bills mostly, you know what I mean? And again, when you talking about people like that, those are the ones say, hey man, I ain't got it like that to be, spending on my wants. These dollars got to go to what's necessary. You know what I'm saying? So I get that too. I get that. And Jeffrey Coleman, again, appreciate you in the space, brother. Say, keep up the good work, bub. Appreciate you here, bro. Real spit. Queen Nzinga's in the house, y'all. She say, Thursday blessings, kings and queens. Let's walk with integrity, encourage someone along the way. And remember, success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. All right. Maybe we should read that again because I found that insightful. There's some she's handing off. These are gems, y'all. Put them in your hand. Thursday blessings, kings and queens. Let's walk with integrity. Encourage someone along the way. And remember, success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. B1, in case you guys don't know, anybody in there, it means black first. All right. Appreciate that, Queen Nzinga sevenfold. She said, hey, man, here's something for y'all to walk away with. Think about it as you make your way throughout the day. Appreciate that. Rakufu said, hello, family, peace and blessings to the RGC. Black first, front line all the time. Amelioration. Yeah, I'm familiar with that word. Appreciate it. All right. Raymond Skull said, peace to you, bub. Greetings to the RGC Black First. I'm here listening because a lot of our kings and queens in this group have great insight. I'm telling you, we be handing off, they be handing off jewels and gems. They handing off them gems. They ain't dropping them. They like, here, you can put them in your hand, man. You ain't got to pick it up. I'm going to hand it to you. Real spit, though, Raymond Skull. Good to see you up in here, homie. Peace and prosperity to you and the fam, homie. Real spit. And shout out to the Rays, Pasadena, Inglewood to LA. May you brothers and sisters be on y'all game and doing the damn thing. On your game and doing the damn thing. Rakufu said amelioration refers specifically to the act of making something that is currently bad, unjust, or broken much better. All right. I used to use that word back in the day throughout prison. Ameliorate, we want to improve it, make it better. Yeah, man. Appreciate you, Rakufu. All right. You're going to say in law, you frequently see it in phrases like amelioration of punishment, lessening a severe sentence due to a change in law, or amelioration of conditions. The proposed federal program was designed not merely as a temporary relief measure, but as a structural amelioration of the underlying economic disparities within the municipality. Almost got tongue twisted. All right. What up, Chris? All right. You say, Bub, man. Bub, what I was trying to say yesterday about people being grouped or separated by knowledge, do you think a black doctor have more in common with me or with another doctor that happens to be white? Almost a trick question. I think this, man, and I think this. I think a black doctor have more in common with you than a white doctor. All right. And I think that should be obvious. It might sound crazy to some of you guys, but I think that's obvious, because there's a lot that goes on, with the black human species, with the melanated species, that does not happen or goes on with, Caucasians or others. You know what I mean? So you would like to think that a melanated person, a black person, doctor, physician would understand your physiology better than his counterpart. That's just my take on it, man. It's like a white lawyer as opposed to a black lawyer. You would think a black lawyer gets this shit, and so he done went and studied, to the T's, because he already know what the law or what the system is gonna do if the representation for you ain't correct. A lot of us, man, we go and we find, white, just, using this as a reference in terms of what we're talking about, a white lawyer thinking he white, he gonna get me out, yeah. No, no. I think, in that respect, man, a black doctor would be better suited for black people, I think, and again, it's because of the physiology of black people. It is the experiences of black people. A lot of what we go through could be or is the cause for a lot of our illnesses. A lot of us don't understand that. But I think that if black doctors will work their weight, they would know that, and they would look to, they would look into that to find, the prevailing issues, what is wrong with us, in terms of our health. They would consider everything. They have to, black, you get it? I hope I made sense, man. And again, the same would go for a black lawyer, if they were really, if that was really a black lawyer, in the defense of a black person, if that's really a black doctor, in the practice, in terms of health for a black person. For me, that's a no-brainer, in those instances anyway, in those instances that don't always pan out like that, though. You know what I'm saying? For instance, on the other side of the coin, I think a black police officer is more dangerous in certain circumstances than his counterpart, for a lot of reasons, socio-political reasons, you know what I mean? Like, hey, man, hey, white cop, listen, man, let me talk to you. Because the brother might be like, you're embarrassing me. I'm so ashamed of you motherfuckers make me, I don't know, man. It depends. It depends on the profession. It depends on the profession, man. I think that shit matters. And I don't mean to say that about all our brothers and sisters who are law enforcement, but, here's the reality. Again, with a black doctor and you're in, this field of health, look out if that's, your calling for real. You would come to understand everything that would ail us, and you'd be prepared in some form of fashion to make us well. If it's a black lawyer and you're in the court of law, you know that the law is not designed to serve you, to give you justice. You would do all that you can to find that, that's in the books in terms of law that will help you find to, ameliorate the situation. You know what I mean? Now, when it comes to, let's say, our brothers and sisters who are in law enforcement, I think there's a disconnect there because for whatever reason, they've been sold this thing that law enforcement actually exists to help the people. But if they did their homework, they would understand how law enforcement came to be, especially here in these United States. Why would you want to participate in this if you knew the history? But that's the thing. A lot of them don't get the history of policing. They don't. And then there are some who think they can change policing in America, and you won't, you know. So there's my issue with that. Good point, man. And I was able to expound upon that a little better than I thought I would. But hell, yeah, I would take a black doctor, Chris. I would take a black doctor. Yeah, so a black doctor would have more knowledge of that black individual than a white one would. No doubt, bro. No doubt. All right, Henry, I see you up in here, man. Salute right back to you. All right, peace and blessings to all. Henry says, salute, brother Bub. Peace and blessings to all. Right back to you. Peace and prosperity to you and your fam, bro. Good to see you up in here. Rakufu said, Iran needs to be challenging their Muslim brothers in Libya enslaving black people. That would be a good look, right? That would be a good look, right? That would be like, hey, man, you know, in the course of what they're going through, they really want to impress upon Black Americans, you know, because they, if anybody knows, I think people all over the world know, anytime we see some shit or hear some shit about people, especially our people in this day and age, being enslaved, come on, man, they got to know hey, man, no, man, what the fuck, you know? So, yeah, you want to impress upon somebody, you know what I mean? Something, then, you know, your address shouldn't be to us, right? It should be to those in Libya, you know, but see here, look at it like this. When Obama and them went in there and killed that brother, man, because he wanted to bring some changes, not only to Africa, you know, he wanted to serve reparations for some of us here, you know. But when Obama and them went and killed him, they knew exactly why they were killing him. They knew exactly what would come as a result of killing him, and they were okay with that. Okay with that. So when his son get took out, they were okay with that because his son supposedly wasn't having none of that. Yeah, something is afoot, man. And again, you know, with Iran saying what they say, okay, man, what's your reasoning? What's your motivation? Because like you just said, there's a whole lot of shit you could be addressing that would please us if you went about it right, you know? Like, yeah, address that situation in Libya, Iran, you know? You got the time to address us in the midst of your war with Israel, United States, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Kuwait. You can, hey man, you can also do that. Stop addressing us and address that shit in Libya. You know, I'm just saying. I hear you, bro. Appreciate that one. Rock Hoofu on point. Hawa, what it do, Snipe? All right, I'll love 1H's, homie. Good to see you up in here, man. Yagzar Joshua. I hope I said that right, man. You know. But anyway, Yag said, man, Yagzar, that's what I'll say. He asked, man, will 9 Dudes Hoover cartoon come back up to the platform, Bub? Probably not. You know what I mean? Because, and I say this in all due respect, should loved ones come back on and get down, come in the studio and sit down with us, it got to be, man, we have to elevate, man, from that mindset. You know what I'm saying? What we talked about when he came on the show, that was for that moment. That was to give some credence, some, you know, some understanding in terms of what the formation was, the inception was, or how that started, you know, that Hoover shit. Now that was said and done. We had that discussion. Now, we're about, okay, how do we mend the rips in the fabric from that point up to now? You know what I mean? How do we make things better? If he got something to speak to that, and I respect the G homie, that's OG homie, I respect you. Should he ever call me, and if I call him, man, cartoon, what's happening, man? How you been, bro? Da, da, da. You give it any thought coming back onto the show? And he say, okay, man, what's the topic? You know, what do you want to come talk about? You know, it would have to be in line or in alignment with where we are now as, you know, this informative or even educational podcast, bro. You know, there's nothing destructive about it anymore. You never was, actually. But it's all about positivity, man. So not just cartoon, not just OG cartoon, but any OG Hoover, any OG from anywhere, they got something to say that's going to speak to not just the plight of what we're going through, but solutions. Speak to the youth, in terms of letting them know what this shit is really about and how detrimental it is, not only to us, but to them first and foremost. More than welcome to come, bro. I would not, even young ones today know. And I say this to them when I see them, that man, damn big homie, I said, man, when you coming? Oh, I'm ready to come. Let's get some straight though, homie. You can't come home and get down with that BS, homie, straight out. And they kind of, calm down a little bit, turn down a little bit, I said, straight up, bro. I get it. I understand how y'all see shit, but you coming on to get down, that go for the old and the young, man. We got to bring something that's positive, man, to the table, man. We got to be willing to, say some things that's on your mind, but you won't normally or readily say around your peers, But again, if you can't say it in front of them, there's no need for you to come on the podcast and say it, And again, that go for anybody, man. So OG Cartoon, man, from Nine Deuce, that's where he hailed from. And I'm pretty sure he ain't in the streets talking about this Nine Deuce Hoover, but the OG homie, man, whenever he has an inkling, man, a thought that he want to share with the people on this platform, more than welcome. And he knows, more than most, that it got to be above board. It has to be. And again, that goes for all the loved ones, and that's out of respect, not just for me, but all our brothers and sisters who are no longer here, who would I'm pretty sure support changing the mindset, doing something different for the people in the community. I'm pretty sure of that. It's a hypothetical because they here, but I would like to think that if they could, they say, hey man, bring it together. Let's get it together. We're going backwards. So, So appreciate that, y'all. Lil H Top, man, what's happening? Lil H Top 112 is in the house, y'all. Long time no see, bro. May everything be everything with you and your family. All right. Peace and prosperity. Good to see you up in here as always. It's always good to see a loved one in support of this getting out, coming to, just hear what's being said. You ain't got to necessarily say nothing, but your presence is more than welcome. It's felt and it's appreciated. All right. Good to see you, loved one. You say, all right, West Side 112H is in the building. Free the homies. All right. Which ones? All right. And it just, following up on what I just said, Lil H Stop, which homies? What we freeing them for? What we freeing them for? I'm curious. Because I'll be the first one to say there's a lot of cats on the streets need to go to jail, and a lot of cats in there need to come home because we know they with the business in terms of, doing better for themselves, their families, and their communities. You know what I mean? So as opposed to we got cats out here right now today, they don't mean the community to set themselves, their family, a damn bit of good. They need to go sit down. Those that been sitting and they're ready, we know where they are. Let's free them. So we got cats that didn't been free recently. Why? Shit, why are they out? What are they doing, man, to contribute to the empowerment, the well-being, man, positivity of themselves first and foremost, then their families and the communities they come from, bro? So I think it's more than a matter of just freeing somebody because we miss them and we want them out. Let's consider, okay, why we're going to free them? How are they going to add to or contribute to, the uplifting of our set, for instance? Let me come and touch bases with you, homie. What are they going to bring to the table for our set? So we ain't got homies just hanging out with nothing to do. No finances that's consistent and stable. Some of them sleeping from house to house, car to car, wherever they are. You know what I mean? Just in the streets. We freeing them for what? To add to the shit that's already in existence out there? Or we freeing them, man, to bring them in so they got a solution, they got a plan. They done sat up long enough and figured it out. They're ready to get in this struggle, for real, They're ready to tell their homies, hey, homie, we wasting time. This ain't it. They want to save homies from getting caught up in RICO and all this other shit that's happening. Are we going to ask them to be free so they can say, homie, it's a waste of time up in there? You can do better out here if you about your business in the right way, the real way, if you're righteous. What you're doing now, they only get 1 or 2 spots. They got reservations for you there. Is that why we getting them out? Is that why we asking for them to be free? Or set in dire straits? We came into this shit, man, as leaders, pathfinders, the example, right? But the problem was, homie, we didn't evolve with the times. We did, but it was backwards. We went backwards. We brought a lot of dissension, a lot of hurt and pain to the situation, homie. And that's been going on since 1970 something. You go on the set now, you don't recognize it because we failed it. Others seen us drop the ball on the set and they didn't move right in. What used to be no longer is. Old homes that, go way back. Family members, families on these streets are gone. Brothers who lost lives on these streets, man, are no longer remembered. What we want them home for, Lo? What they gonna do? They don't just go for Hoover, homie. They go for everybody. We all lost. And every time one of our so-called loved ones go to jail for some bullshit, we talking about free the homie. Why? So he can come back and do some more bullshit? Put somebody else's life in jeopardy? What? No. Each and every one of our sets, our communities deserve better, homie. We've been suffering at our own hand too long, homie. Just, and we keep cheering on or being in the cheering section of the wrong individuals for too long, bro. For too long. It's time to move beyond that, man. And for those who don't get that, man, then woe be to you, man, because it's going to be a rude awakening, nudging you on the shoulder. Reality is going to step in and shock most of y'all back into the present. Y'all going to see, man, this is some old shit. By that time, it might be too late. By that time, you might be serving a double life sentence. And all that you thought about doing, all your ambitions and goals, even when you was in the streets, being a badass, following the lead one day, all that's gone. The time you come home, be an old man. So we gonna free him, homie. Why? Why we gonna free him? Why we gonna free him, homie? This shit ain't no joke, man. And all these young brothers, they don't even see, you brothers don't see they coming after y'all now. We're in another era, an age of what we call back in the day sweeps. But these sweeps are going to be put down to where you aren't going to stay. They want to give you fed time. That way you'll be out the way for a while. You won't get half time, 65%. You don't get none of that. The fix is in, man, and a lot of you brothers ain't seeing that shit. Out pimping our sisters, our daughters, man. I don't want to free none of them motherfuckers, homie. Let me tell you the truth. Not a one of them. So this is the business, man. When we talking about, hey, man, we representing whatever we do. How are we representing it, bro? Anywhere that anybody's claiming Hoover, man, how does that look? How does any of them sets look? What's happening over there? Are we winning legitimately? Come on, man. We got to be mindful not only of what we say, but what the hell we doing, homie. That shit means a lot. It means a whole lot, bro. You know, because I'm telling you, it spills down, it trickles down to those who are looking up to us, coming behind us. Myself and others, we say it all the time. We fucked up. Some of us are giving back, man, as best we can. Others then say, hey, man, I survived. I made out this shit. I'm gone. Wipe their hands clean of it. You know, ain't look back. You know, can you knock them? Yeah. No. You know what I mean? But for those of us, man, who got understanding, who still speaking the way we speak, like yourself, you got to understand there's something bigger than this, man. You know, we got to be careful what we asking for, man. You know, we asking to release who? Free who? Why? How many times have we been asking, or it was asked to free these individuals? You know, again, this is a different age, though, Low H Stop. You know, it's where, man, we in this shit for real, man, or we in this shit for play. And if you playing, it's gonna show. It's gonna show, man. You know, I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, there's a lot of brothers, real ones. I say free them. I'm pretty sure, you know, hey, like, hey, man, you know, all you gotta do is open the door. You know, and they gonna handle their business. I don't know, man. Joe Farrell, what it do, man? Oh, you say zoom in on the books behind me? All right. Hold on, bro. All right. Hold on. That good? Just a little more. All right, there you go. You should be able to catch that. I don't know. Maybe a little more. There you go. All right. All right. Books galore. A little bit of everything in here, man. A little bit of everything. Hold tight, y'all. Let me get it back together. All right, that should do it. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah. So I zoomed in for you, man. Yeah, that's the reading list. And some of them books were, you know, from one of the loved ones, man. I appreciate me being able to go, you know, have these books in my collection. I got more books here downstairs in my den, at the podcast, you know. Yeah, we got books everywhere around here. But yeah, that's what it is. You say salute to the foundational Black Americans. We got to get us together. We have to get us together, man. I do agree with that. Melanated people, black Americans, whatever. We have to get it together, man. Ain't nobody else gonna do this shit. Mr. Fantastic, what it do? You say, hey, excuse me, hey, brother Bub, hey to yourself, Mr. Fantastic. Good to see you up in here, man. Good to see you up in here. All right. Yes, sir. Joe Farrell said, yes, sir. Great reading list. Yeah. And it's actually a couple in here, more than a couple. A few I haven't read. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 books in there I have not read. And that's a lot. Yeah. Great list, man. I think so, man. Anyway, but yeah, we in this thing, man, again, to where if we don't get it together, ain't nobody else gonna do none of this shit for us, man. And again, a lot of people say they support us, but actually, man, they want to see us not succeed, or at the very least, not do better than them, not do better than them. That's what they're more concerned with, the fact that if we do better than them, then that means they'll be on the lowest rung of the pole, on the ladder, lowest rung on the ladder. And that's what we need to be moving up from. It's nowhere in the world we're supposed to be here. But then again, just look at how everything has been designed and put in place to put us there. It kind of makes sense. You could expect that to have occurred because those are in power. This white supremacy architecture or structure designed it that way. And again, going back to what we was talking about, with countries like Russia, and Iran, and these places that got the history, that know the history of us, they don't, these people don't want, they know better than we do our history and our identity. And that's the threat for a lot of people, us learning our history, our identity more than anything, with that, we're able then to, really get to the crux of religion. Our identity gets us there, our history, our value, So, hey, man, everything that we see happening that's in place, man, is not by accident. It's not by accident, the only problem, that's a problem, that is happening. But what augments the problem, make it larger or bigger, is the fact that a lot of us aren't paying attention, or we know better and not doing anything about this whole situation. We're not trying to get ourselves out of this situation. We have a hard time getting along. We have a hard time unifying, a hard time loving one another, respecting one another, appreciating each other. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. I think that, finding out who we are, it really isn't all that difficult. I think that there are people with that knowledge, not from their mouth, but in terms of the source, they're willing to get that shit up. I think there are a lot of people throughout the world who are itching to say, hey, man, here's your identity. Here's who you guys really are, But why would they? Why should they? When they're sitting back, why they want to do it, but they're like, hey, man, I can't get these ignorant motherfuckers, these crazy motherfuckers this information, man. Because with that information, there's a lot of power. And that's what scares a lot of people. We're so unfettered. We're so, we lack self-constraint, restraint, control. You can't give a person power, man, and they don't know how to control themselves. You imagine that. Imagine that. I think that's part of what the issue is with those who may have the, that key that unlocks, who we are, the identity of who we are and why we are, They not like, hey, man, nah. We may have people who are not melanated who are actually what they call them, for lack of a better phrase right now in my mind, like power of attorney, so to speak. They got something for us, but they can't give it to us until, based on what the script say, the condition says, based on that, they can't give it to us. They can only give it to us when they see that, okay, it fits, what's in the script, the description and the terms, the master term. Okay, hey, you guys, boom. Until such time, man, people sitting there like, oh my God, I got to pass this shit down to my family members and shit. Just imagine that could be that, But why give somebody power when shit, man? People don't know how to control and wield it, We have an issue with that. That's what I'm thinking, man. That's a possibility, at least, that there's something for us, but until we're ready to get it, whoever controls it has to follow the script. And they probably been passing this shit down for generations. I don't know. I'm just saying, shit. We're in a way, man, where we're blocking our own blessings. That's how much in the way we are each other and ourselves. Like I said, man, we watched television yesterday and we see these young brothers, a whole new crew of them, want to be pimps. And abusing children or daughters. And for whatever reason, they think that's cool, It's cool. Everything they do is on social media. And not even that. I'm glad it went that way. They, because that's what they had coming, But everything's on social media. Everything. We were talking last week about one of the brothers, and I've heard people say, "Free that brother." He's up there fighting a hot one. Free that brother. Blah 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 blah. Why? Why? You had an opportunity. It was actually in a good spot or place, position to bring power to the people. To help extract power from the people in a positive way. Could have done a lot of good, not just his community, but others. Didn't choose that. Been in and out of prison, state and fed, this, Big Willie type of cat. You know what I mean? Type of cat a lot of us see, so yeah, he ain't learned shit. Just a matter of time, There it was. Now get caught up and go up in there and you on the damn phone talking about all kind of shit. And people saying, oh man, that ain't nothing. That's something. One, it shows you still ain't learned shit. You on the prison phone. I wouldn't be surprised, them other people come and say, man, matter of fact, we'll take it from here. I wouldn't be surprised. Just at every opportunity, don't care about number what the check says. Still trying to get that check. Shit crazy, man. And we don't know how to do different or do better. Like I say, these young brothers out here on the blade, man, they doing it, and they got this money, they flashing, and yeah. Oh yeah, it's just a matter of time, bro. They come to get you. Yeah, Miss Fantastic, and he crying because folks speaking on it. But hey, man, you shut the fuck up, though. Hey, if all you know, for all he know what he should know better, the people speaking on it, their handler could have came and told them, put that out there. We need you to talk about this. This is how dumb these motherfuckers are, man. Man, when they read you the Miranda rights, that shit is in effect till you get convicted or beat the case, whichever come first. Everything you say will be used against you. This is why you're not supposed to say shit. This is why, man, you know, back in the day, you go in, man, and loved ones, homies, everybody tell you, the lawyer tell you, hey, man, don't say nothing to nobody, you know. I mean, back in the day, 4,800 brothers talking about their shit. And mother, if that shit didn't get back to the DAs, they had plants then. Yeah. A lot of homies don't tell them stories, man. 4,800 wasn't all that, man. It was a cesspool of corruption. That's what it was. You know? It's what it was. You know, all kind of mugs in there telling and raping and all kind of shit, man. Murderers, you know. But you know, here it is, 2026, and nobody has learned nothing. That don't make sense. My advice is, man, hey, just shut up. Get off social media. You know, dude, I don't know. Dude, you know, and again, at the same time, I have no sympathy for them. None. None. And neither should any of you. You know, if it was up to me, I wouldn't free them. Nah, homie, you don't get no pass. That's a pass. I'm gonna free somebody, free him. That's a pass. You know, some motherfuckers don't deserve passes, bro. I'm just saying. But you know, this is the climate. This is the environment. You know, this is how it's being done today. All right, Antonio, I see you, bro. All right, good to see you up here. Peace and prosperity, bro. Mr. Fantastic say, yeah, man. And he crying because folks speaking on it. Yeah, he's a man, for real, he's a Gilligan. You know, and I'm gonna leave it at that, man. No, you know, ain't no sense in disrespecting, man. You know, but yeah, I'm pretty sure of it. Many have told him. But you know, if you check him out, you can see. I don't know, man. Just you see shit like, damn, dude, this shit ain't cool. But they all share the same mentality when it comes to that. If you think about it, especially in that niche they're in, that reactionary shit, and you can't tell them that they're telling. You can't tell them that. They will not believe that shit. For whatever reason, their definition of telling is totally different from what they're doing. You know, their excuse or their justification is, I'm just reacting on it. So-and-so said it, and and you pushing it though. And not only that, but you got something to say as well about the whole shit. You weren't even there. Why would you even push it? You know, I don't understand how they don't see that shit. I'm about to say, well, the bad clouds judgment. The bad, it clouds judgment. But hey, man, that's a bad get down, man. That whole space. Anybody that goes in it, man, they have to realize that, oh shit, at some point my number's gonna come up. In some form or fashion, I'll be addressed. Somebody's gonna try me. And the next thing I know, I'm in this shit, you know. It's funny, it's crazy work that a lot of them don't even see that shit. You can't be cool in that space. You can't be stumped down in that space, man. If anybody say that they can, you are mistaken. You are mistaken. Stumped down individuals don't even go to that kind of space. Don't do that. I don't care who you is. Respectfully, I say this. But yeah, for real, they leave that type of shit alone. All right. Money is addictive. Money is very addictive, man. You know, see, because the money, again, when we talk about money, I was telling somebody yesterday, we talking politics. And I'm telling you, capitalism is a politic, man. You know, no, man. You got to be talking about democracy, man. Democracy ain't shit. It's just a front. The real politic is capitalism, money. Money will make mugs become cigarettes. Money will make a stump down mug if its principles ain't aligned right and placed correctly. If you don't have integrity and it's etched in granite, if it ain't etched in granite, money will make him a cigarette. And again, y'all look that up, man. That's British lingo that's from the UK. But, you know, for real, make them pimp their daughters, their wives, the nieces, no cousins. Money make mugs do shit, man. Capitalism is the real politic. Money is the politic, and it will blind you. It'll make you drop your guard quick, real quick. You know, that's the danger of money. And again, man, when a lot of us don't understand what the real concept for it is, this is what we see play out. We see this shit play out because cats don't really understand the concept, what money really is supposed to be about. You know, and that's where a lot of problems come in at. They'll sell their soul, man. Don't care about nothing but what the checks say. Don't care about nothing but what the checks say. That's bad business. There's a few other statements out there, you know, that be out there in that space. And I'd be like, whoa, I would never fuck with you. They'd be like, I wouldn't fuck with you either, mother. You know, cool, they're in agreement, you know, but hey, man, get that bag, man. I'm telling y'all both get that bag. You better get that bag, man. Get that bag, man. What do you mean, man? All right, I'm good, man. Shit. Yeah, man. Mr. Fantastic said, man, he's been told by many, knock that off. Again, I see you, Antonio. Good to see you. He said, Antonio said, I'm with you, big homie. Hey, man. Yeah. Appreciate it. As always. Money is addictive, y'all. Mr. Fantastic say, man, selling their soul for the bag is nonsense. But yeah, you know, a lot of the shit we do, and damn, the trip is that we attach nowadays a lot of shit we do to the bag. You know, I can't say that's fairly new. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's actually new. You know, we can go back to the early 2000s. I wasn't there, you know what I mean? But the 90s, I wasn't there, you know. Early 90s, very early 90s, I was there. You know, some of the 80s, I was there, you know, and a lot of shit we did for the bag didn't make no damn sense, because I'm telling you, this, I know it didn't make any sense because there's nothing to show for it today. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing, you know? And I'm not talking about, you know, because a lot of cats, you know, they chip with their thumb, they chain, get it drilled, yeah, that's nothing. Nothing to show for it. You know? Nothing, man. That bag, man, is, you know, it's a bag of tricks. You know, it's just a bag of tricks. You know, anybody that want to go grab that bag, you're really grabbing a trick bag. That's really all it is. It's a trick bag. Because you don't know what to do with it. You don't know that bag is going to get you caught up in some form of fashion, man. And again, like I say, when we're looking at some shit, we see these brothers, we see them all day, every day, social media. We see them on the news now. Everybody in the world get to see them getting caught with that trick bag, getting caught in that trick bag. That's, I don't know how to put it, man. I think that's good right there. They get caught with the trick bag, got caught in the trick bag. Money is addictive, man. And again, that's only because we don't understand this concept. As people, we don't understand this concept, you know. Some of us, most of us, you know. The last thing I would want is to, you know, to do the shit dudes do, you know, trying to show that I got something when you really ain't got shit. You really ain't got shit, you know. That's part of the trick too. Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy work. That's the phrase I use nowadays. Crazy work, man. Crazy work, man. You got to see these young brothers, man, and you know, young cats under that Rico. Young cats. And then that's not even the really, that ain't them. You know, again, fuck them, right? It's the women, some of who are actually traumatized as a result of this shit. You know, these little kids, man, that's really at the core of this shit. That's what's really messed up, man. And like I say, man, fuck them. I mean that, you know. But these young children, these kids, man, who've been traumatized, messed up probably for the rest of their lives, psychologically, just fucked up. You ever seen them, man? Them type of women that have been through some shit, and man, it wasn't their, you know, it was not their fault. They didn't, you know, put themselves in that shit. And you see them, or you know them, like decades later, they haven't changed. In fact, they're worse. Real shit, man. That's some sad shit. And these cats is doing it for the bad. My mama, growing up, man, my mama, I bullshit you not, man. My mama was aware of everything I did, and she did not agree with any of it. My point is, though, there was nothing I could hide from my mama. Now, I'm saying that to say this. Is that the way today? Is it that easy to hide shit from your mama? Even if you ain't living with her, you know, have mothers lost, you know, the superpower of knowing something ain't right with the boy? You know, boy, what you into? You know, you know, sons love their mothers. You pulling up in whatever you putting up in, and you got 2, 3 females in the car, and you know, and mama ain't saying, boy, what the fuck going on? You get what I'm getting at? You get what I'm getting at, man? And if the dad is there and he, all right, what the fuck you doing, homie? Like, boy, what the fuck you doing, man? You're not using that as, you know, a reference to your son. Like, what if that's your little sister? What if that's your daughter? You know, it's crazy work, man. Something is up. Something is up with us, man. And I just found out the other day they lacing the weed with fentanyl. Well, we already knew this. We already knew this, right? But it's out in the news now. They lacing it with fentanyl, you know, and I mean way more than what they used to do. That could be part of it. I don't know. These cats is drugged up, man. And they pass these drugs to these girls, these kids, and they have them doing just outrageous shit, man. You know, just wrong. And again, we talking about, hey, man, you see something, fuck them. What about them kids, man? You gotta wonder, man, how damaged are they as a result of that, you know? And you know, you have a person do something long enough, often enough, you know, it don't have to be long. It could just be the repetition of something, the conditioning of doing it. Might be hard, man, to get, you know, get that individual, that person out of that mindset. You know what I mean? It's crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. Yeah, Miss Fantastic said most of them would never come back from that. All right, Henry, what it do, loved one? Henry Sadello said, man, in order to make way and give heed to the peacemakers, we have to get rid of the peace breakers. All right, Khalid Abdul Muhammad, rest in peace. And yeah, I've said it, I've suggested it. You know, the loved ones, I say, man, care about none of that. Care about none of that. You know? And if that's necessary, then that's necessary. You know? Because at this point, man, I mean, what's, you know, what's at stake? What's at jeopardy, man? Everything. Everybody. You know? Yeah, I hear you, bro. In order to make way and give heed to the peacemakers, we have to get rid of the peace breakers. Last week, man, I saw something was sent to me from social media where a cat down the way was on a brother because he went on another podcast, you know, and the conversation, it's a good conversation, right? Nothing disrespectful. In fact, it's a milestone. It shows that there's room for growth, improvement, you know, peace. But there was another individual from that section didn't like that. Kept down there my age. And the shit that was coming out this cat mouth is like, oh, yeah, you the problem. Part of the problem. See, we tend to think that it's a lot of these young cats who are against peace. When the reality is, no, I know it's not. You know? They're two-faced individuals, man. They are fence straddlers and shit like that. Or there's some just outright them, you know, don't, fuck that, you know. Old heads, or will soon be, pushing bullshit to somebody's kid, giving the impression to some youth whose mind ain't even developed fully that it's okay to be at war with your own people, kill your own people. Grown ass motherfucker. Part of the problem, man. Part of the problem. And the fact of the matter is, there's some of him from every set, 2 or 3 even. Some of them are cowards. They do it to impress upon those who really pushing it like that, like they down. You know what I mean? You know, for real. A lot of these cats, man, weren't really stumped down cats to begin with. You know, back, you know, you know. So here's an opportunity for them to make, like, within that circle, you know, a little easily manipulated, influenced voice, make his mark. See, because don't know grown ass man that been around and been through some shit would still propagate that type of shit. You know what I mean? It just don't make sense, man. To see this shit, man. That's where our problem lies. You know, yeah, for those who don't want peace, got to get them out the way, man. Got to move them out the way. And I'm telling you, for the most part, it ain't these kids that's really like that. It's these other dudes who's putting this shit in their head. You want to go hang out with these kids, you know, invite them over to the tribe or whatever, and see them talk that shit to them. Nah, man, that's dangerous, man. That's some bad shit. But anyway, that's bad shit. You know, we got to do better, man. These kids are our future. You know, a lot of us, we you know, over the hill. Ain't gonna kill none, let none die. You know what I mean? So for those types, they want to, still be influenced in that respect. And that ain't cool, man. I think there are a lot of brothers who want what a lot of us want. We want unity, man. We want love amongst each other. We want peace with each other. Ain't no doubt about that, man. But then there's this few, for whatever reason, who are against that. And I don't want to hear, well, I lost soup to soup and so then. Me too. Me too, Ray. You know what that mean? We got to get together, man. This some crazy work, y'all. Like I say, with these kids getting caught up in this Rico shit. Can you just imagine what was said to them, how to go about doing this shit? Man, leave these babies, man. Kids don't, man. Got a whole lot of bad influences out there, y'all. That's the problem. Appreciate that right there, Henry, from Khalid, man, Mohammed. Appreciate you putting that in there, man. Miss Fantastic. Yeah, bro, we know. Henry said, yes, indeed, Brother Bub. A lot of us just simply get our minds right and learn to love ourselves first, enable to love each other. And that's the whole point. So when we're looking at certain behaviors, man, especially being exhibited amongst our young and old, you have to recognize off the rip, man, okay, there's an individual that don't really understand what love of self really means and how it's applied to self. And then, even, not only how it's applied to self, but how it works for others. If I love me, man, I want no harm to come to you. If I love me enough to work by certain principles, standards, morals, then I would love to see my brothers and sisters, in the same light. It don't have to do with religion. We're talking about principles. We're talking about morals. We're talking about standards. We're talking about integrity. We're talking about just this moral compass, man. Just how to live like a man, or as a human being. We want that not just for ourselves. We want it for those who look like, hey, man, boom. Here's some real spit right here, man. I love you, man. And I'm able to say that because I know I love me. I know I love me. Even in my darkest moments, man, I there's enough love in me to like the way I come about that shit. Like, whew, that's what that love for me do, And I can imagine if that's what, if that's shared with others and they get it. Not because I'm telling them to get it, but because, they understand or they get to the point where, yeah, love for self is very important. They get that and make their way through anything, man. And that's what we have to wrestle towards. We have to fight for that shit, man. We have to first fight for love for self because we don't even know, for the most part, a lot of us are fighting ourselves. We're fighting the hate of ourselves, man. That's why we in the shit we in to a large degree. We're battling ourselves, man. The love of me is fighting against the hatred I have. You know what I mean? That's what this shit is about, I think, man. Yeah, appreciate that, Henry. All right, Lisa, there she go. Lisa Moore, that's why our Queen sisters, welcome home, or good to see you hanging out, hanging out. She, hey, Brother Bub, late, but I'm here. You know what we say, late. Hey, better late than never, all right? All good, sister. Peace and blessings to everybody. Good to see you, though, Lisa Moore. Good to see you, Queen. All right, Fat Rat, what it do? Peace to you and RGC, Big Buck. Right back to you, Fat Rat. Peace to you as well, bro. Good to see you up in this get down, y'all. Good to be here. Henry say, man, 100. Absolutely, Brother Bub. Facts. We in some shit, y'all. But again, I want to say, my mind be going and going. This is par for the course. Oh man, we know this golf course, man. We know all 18 holes. You know what I mean? So this ain't nothing, you know, we know how to run this course, man, like it's nothing. It should be nothing to us. And yet every day it seems like, you know, for some of us, like it's a whole new 18 holes. And like, God dang, I never been on this golf course. No, man, you've been through everything the day before day. It's a new day, man. You come into this day, man, realizing, man, you done went through some shit, 18 holes the day before that, you know what I mean? So now this is a new day, different, you know, different day. Of course, the same, man. Now I know how to, you know, I'm on the putting green. I know how to get through this like it's nothing. Every day, brothers seem to come up to wake up and be like, oh shit. They didn't learn was par for the course the day before. They didn't forgot the 18 holes. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man, you serious? Are you serious? Then again, we got these brothers who keeping this bullshit alive, and they in our face. And a lot of us go and we give them the attention. In fact, a lot of us like and share it with other people, not realizing the harm we're creating or we're helping to spread. The hatred for self and others look just like you. That's exactly what we're doing. You know, this is what part of what social media is about. It's put here for us to help spread hatred of each other. Because we got more of that on social media than we got positivity and love for one another. You know? And again, the algorithm does not serve positivity. Now, the algorithm serves negativity and bullshit. This is how the code was written. So it should be no wonder that we, you know, we see and hear the shit we see and hear, you know. It should be no wonder, you know, that guys would rather, you know, be sensational with bullshit just to get the bag, you know, and some, you know, just to have recognition, you know what I mean? Now here's their chance to be somebody, you know. Like I say, man, for the older loved ones, brothers who, you know, participate in this BS like that, you know, yeah, they missed something back when they, you know, was in this shit when the shit was real, you know. They obviously missed something because they still in it. They're still propagating it, you know. You know, I don't know, man. This shit is crazy work, man. Crazy work. And it's just, yeah, I'm telling you, this is a time, man. Again, opportunity. It, for the most part, it always presents itself. It's always going to show its head. You know what I mean? Opportunity. We are at this juncture where opportunity it's abound, man. You know, it's everywhere actually. But the opportunity I think matters most is the one where we have this space to bring it all in, to bring it together. The opportunity actually exists for us to get over whatever the hell issues we have, you know, in order for us to go forward as a unit. And again, we all know everybody ain't gonna go. Everybody don't want to go, you know, that's fine. But for those of us who are ready and willing, we have an opportunity to push forward as a people, you know. And, you know, the only thing should matter is love for self. And we got that. We got love for everybody that's in that space and ready to utilize or take advantage of these opportunities to do better for ourselves and our people. Everybody ain't with that just yet. And I said this the other day, let's just remember who they are, you know, because I think that, you know, when you got situations like this, man, you got people that lay in the cut in the wing and see how shit go. They actually hoping the shit don't go the way we want it to go. But, you know, the ulterior motive is if it go the way, then I'm jump in and, you know, Their game is to actually, man, find some way to throw a wrench in the shit. You know, and if all, machinations, plans, and plots don't work, they'll figure out a way in and they'll do it from the inside out. This is what we get from our people in a lot of respects, and that's sad, man. That's sad. We got to do better, y'all. I'm just saying. I don't mean it. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but golly, we got to do better, man. And we got to start getting at these brothers, man, these young ones, whether they like it or not. Like I say, man, when I make my way over there, I make it a habit now to go to certain, locations where I know I'm coming in contact with them. And, I lay in the cut. I'd sit and wait, kick with a few heads. We chop it up about real shit, I'm like, oh, who that one? All right, yeah. Check out little one, but we won't, I'm pulling him away from the crowd, you don't want to be, a lot of them, I don't, I'm just really getting to understand their mindset and how they get down. It's cool, to pull them to the side, have one-on-one with them. And that's what I choose to do with most of them. It depends on what I see the relationship is with a couple of them. Like, hey, man, y'all come in, let me know that. And that's what I do. That's what I do. And I don't leave that situation not listening, That's what we got to do. Okay, man. Yeah. So what is it for you? You know what I mean? What's happening? Talk to me, or won't, I make sure I give them that opportunity, to say whatever it is. And I'm all ears, man. I'm not the hey, man. Initially, I'm not here to correct you. When you know what I'm saying? But what I'm supposed to do when da. Boom, there's my end. I said, well, really, homie, you put yourself in a position where you get to that. A lot of these cats don't like this life, man, that they're living. A whole lot of them don't. But again, what are the alternatives? What are the alternatives? You know what I mean? A lot of these cats ain't dumb. All of them don't want to be rappers. Some of them have ambitions, aspirations and shit, A lot of them lack motivation, love for self, self-respect, I mean, this is something all too common in everybody's community. A lot of us grew up the exact same way, right? And again, I think times were different back then as opposed to now. And rightfully so. Yeah, man, it's just a matter of communication, man. We have to communicate with our young brothers and sisters regardless. Some of them ain't going to want to hear it, Some of them ain't going to want to hear it. Facts. I think, though, if the opportunity presents itself, not only say all that you can, but listen as much as you can before the opportunity, evaporates. You know what I mean? That's what I say. And so I take it upon myself, man. Like I say, when I see the young homies, or, these young men, and even some of the young sisters I speak, I'm always cordial and respectful. I'm going to have a conversation with you, bro. Can we talk? Cool. Got a few minutes? I make sure I don't put them in no position where they can't watch their back and none of that shit. You feel me? Been there, done that, Been there, done that. So, for me, it's an honor for any of them to give me the time of the day. They ain't got to. They don't got to. I don't use my name like that. No, they ain't got to do a damn thing, actually, But it's an honor, for them to sit down and want to have a discussion. And so I imagine there are so many more just like that from everywhere. We just got to communicate. We got to reach out to these young brothers, man. In the same way these cats is in their ear, we got to be in their ear as much as we can be, A lot of us see the cats that's in their ear in that negative sense. They ain't got a whole lot to do anyway. That's why they got the time to do that. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing productive going on with them. But, you can't label that being productive in a positive sense. But for those of us who want to do, need to do all these things, it's funny how time is, or how have so little of it sometimes. You know what I mean? How we have to manage it because there is so much more we're doing that grown men and grown women do. You know, again, we know what was par for the course, and so we go through that course, and every now and then we get a bogey. In a sand trap or something. But yay, we know how to get back on the green, man, and we trying to figure this shit out, and that's what we do. So we got to keep doing that. We got to keep doing that, man. That's what I say. I say, man, these young brothers and sisters, they deserve it because, like I said, man, this is one of them situations where it's a trickle down thing, and in fact, the trickle is an understatement. Almost like, I don't know, I could say a watershed moment, but no, not that. This is a thing, man, where the flow of this shit is there's a runoff. You know what I mean? Damn, a trickle. There's a runoff, and so we're in a position to have this shit run off. It can go either way. That can be diluted, or it can be a whole bunch of negativity poured upon them. It could be a whole bunch of positivity, that they could be submerged in. You know what I mean? So it's up to us. It's up to us. That much I do know. Chris say, man, at the same time, even though they don't want to hear it, you still have to keep beating it into their brain. They'll thank you later. Real spit. And that's how, hurry up, get to the point, bub. That's right. That's the way to go about it, And again, even though we know that there are forces, elements, people working against us, man, still, we have to do that shit, we have to do it. I was talking to a loved one today. We were talking about the young ones again. And, last year I happened to hang out with them briefly. I wanted to go and see how they got down, on a 7-4 day, right? And they had a nice little thing. They doing their thing, man. And it was cool. Wasn't no funk, no drama, nothing. I'm stepping back. I stood back and just checked them out. Like, all right. It gave me the impression that, hey, man, it ain't all that bad. It ain't always bad. You know what I mean? There's room for so much growth, but I've seen growth in that moment where they just want to have a good time and be away from the BS, right? Come on, man. Most of the time you hear about them, it's always looking to turn up. Nah, man, they was having a damn good time. I ain't gonna talk about the activities and what they did per se, but I know that they were having a damn good time. In fact, I got recordings and shit. I've never posted it. I still have it. I'm not gonna post it, but they had a good time. So me and the loved one talking about them today, and they would, want to get down and do their thing again. And I mentioned, oh my God, no, I did it with them last year. That I'm pretty confident that they know how to go and chill out, when their minds are right, and that's a good look. So this year, I'm hanging with our age group. We're gonna do what we do. We know how to do it, right? We know how to kick back, throw that music on, the music we like, man, that we can hear, that vibe with us, you can write frequencies and shit, and we talk about stuff, man, that's worthwhile, worth discussing, So, that space is for us, and that's where I'll be. But every opportunity I get, man, to talk to the loved ones, I do. And it ain't just the young ones, I speak to, my OGs even, we talk, often. In fact, I got to call somebody tonight because I neglected to call them yesterday and the day before that, but yeah, I just enjoy it because, there's always something I can pick up or I'd be handed, some gem they'll hand me, you know what I mean? Make me a better person, you know what I mean? So this is why I do it. Even when it's with the younger ones, I'm listening to see if they'll impart something to me that's worthwhile, something I could take with me and share. This is our work, man. We're obligated to do this. At least I think so. You know, a lot of us don't look at it as an obligation, but I know for a fact those of us who were in this life, who contributed to this destruction, this detriment that we see taking place in our communities, yeah, I think we're obligated, man, to correct this shit to help fix it. We broke it. We're supposed to fix it. We should leave that to them to fix. They don't know where to start. You know, they just know they in it. You know what I mean? So that's my thought on that, man. We got to show them the way, man. You go. We got somewhere watching what they're doing in Detroit, man. It's some called Unity. They mount up in a positive way, and they went through the most dangerous section, so-called the most active, gang, populated area, and flooded the streets. Walk through that thing, man. There ain't gonna be none of that, And I'm telling you, it was inspiring, man. All right, there's the work right there. That's what we supposed to be doing. No fear, but the people are out there and they're out there together. Fathers, brothers, uncles, cousins, mothers, daughters, nieces, nephews. They say, man, enough. And they getting it done. I don't think that's the only place that's doing that, but I know one thing that's inspiring to see. And my mind got to working immediately, like, shit, okay, that's something we need to do. And I already know a lot of people like, hey, man, hey, that's dangerous. That is, yeah. No sacrifice, no victory. I think that it ain't what you do, but it's how you do it. It's not what you do, but how you do it. And so I'm looking at that. I'm playing with that in my head. Okay, how do we go about doing that? How are we going about doing it? Something to look forward to for sure. Chris say, man, all right, we already said that. Yeah, I already said that. But again, I'll repeat it at the same time. Even though they don't want to hear it, you still have to keep beating it into their brains. They'll thank you later. And that beating it he's referring to, we got to keep on talking to them. Get in their ear, man. Get in their ear. Get in their ear. Let them know, man, we love them. Let them know that we see the path that they're on, man. We've been on that path. We know that course. It ain't nothing there, man. So, yeah, that's what we need to be doing. I appreciate you, Chris. I appreciate you. Great deal, bro. All right, man. I want to do one thing before I cut out, man. It's almost that time. I'm still having, let me say it to you like this. I have this new theme song, man, but I ain't going to lie. Before I even run it the way I want to run it, I want to put video to it, like building temples from the rubble video, the intro, outro. I want video like that. It could be AI or whatever. The point I'm making is I don't know how to do that shit. The song is it's an anthem, man. It's a cold anthem. And I'm just trying to figure out how to get it up and running the way I want, but I want to do it again with the visual, like a video. You know what I mean? Not just the lyrics, but the video. We even want to put the lyrics in as a part of the video as it play in the intro and the outro. The song is 7 minutes, so of course I'm going to chop it down. I want to chop it down to like we do on the other one. I think that's a minute 48 on the intro and a minute 24 on the outro. I want it in the same space, you know what I mean? A minute 48 and a minute 24, in this new get down. I just don't know how to do it. So I've been asking around family. I'm like, do you know how to, oh, damn, bud, that's a lot, but I'm going to figure this shit out. And I say, hey, man, you want to pay for that? I say, I'm trying to avoid that, Let me be honest. I'm trying to avoid that, because my concept in terms of the video is tight. It's tight. It's tight, man. And Tim The AI is something totally different. I could, he can do a film, but there's certain aspects I want done that I know AI can do. And I'm not even going to try to have him do it. He's working on his thesis and what he got to do. So it's like, oh, fuck, I got to figure this out. Anybody got some suggestions? Let me know, man. Let me know. I forgot the AI I got some AI app on here, man. And I'm going through that shit is confusing. I went up in, one of them is CapCut, I think. Yeah, that's CapCut. I went up in CapCut, man. That shit is confusing as hell. I'm like, all right, man, hold on. So I'm working on it, man. But I'm saying that to say I'm trying to get this damn new theme song up and running because I know it's power, I know it's heat, it's fire, and it is a theme. It's an anthem. It's an anthem, and I'm telling you that shit is fire, man. But give me time, you guys. Before you know it, I'm gonna have that thing up and running. Before I go, I want to send a shout out to Kimberly Mitchell, man, and again, she's in our thoughts over here, man. We love the home queen, man, and we just hope that she has the strength to make it through this moment in time where her and her family have taken this loss, with her big sister. So our condolences go out to Kimberly Mitchell. All love and respect. You're in our thoughts, sister. That's what I want to do with that before I go. I'm about to head out, man. I want to do part 2 with this thistle. I can't even make this thing work like I wanted to. Oh, there you go. Nope, wrong one. Nope. There you go. All right. I want verse 2. No, verse 3. Yeah, verse 3. Hold on, yeah. All right. Damn, I can't even find it, man. Oh, okay, got you. 1 second, y'all. Queen no worth and power. Blah, 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 blah. 1 second. And did I lose it? Shit. There you go.
Lost the setup for a robbery ain't worth a human soul. One decision can create damage nobody controls. To the elders, we need your guidance. To the teachers, we need your knowledge. To the fathers, we need your presence. To the mothers, we come back. The unity has to return because the next generation is watching everything we do. No more funerals, no more burying babies, no more mothers crying, no more communities breaking. Lift your brother, lift your sister, lift your people, lift each other. No more hate, no more division. It's time for healing, it's time for vision. Imagine the future where the children feel safe, where every young king understands his place, where every young queen knows her worth and power, where unity grows stronger every hour. Imagine neighborhoods building businesses again, families creating wealth instead of visiting pens. Imagine fathers at home teaching sons how to lead, and mothers being honored for the lives that they see. Imagine elders respected every place they go, passing down wisdom only experience can know. Imagine black people standing together once more, not perfect, but united at the core. That's the dream, not destruction, not division, but healing, building, growing, living. Because our story ain't over, and our greatest chapter can still be written.
All right. I'm gonna leave it at that, y'all. You know how this shit go, man. Love yourself so we can love one another, all right? Loving each other is very, very important. It's needed. Should be mandatory, but it ain't. Love yourself so you can love each other. Take care of yourself so you can take care of one another. Never know who needs our support, who needs taken care of, all right? Keep that in mind. Power is in the people, all right? Power is in the people. You are, you have been, and you will be under the groove. One love.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hurst, and writing future history. From the Apollo to the borough to the sphere, where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transform suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. That's in the sergeant. This is once a less than had this had to and Mercedes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive budget, the applause for polls. Need your data, talks and counsel, any problem when the wet just wanna build the season. Now don't get the pause. It's just the raising up the times. Plead the markets off the main. Make it honor fans. Turn the neck and love the durn. Suffer like a kesha. You were grown to preaching up on side as each alone. Bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vets. Someone the very inch on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the bonafide. If wait talking for the Margaret to keep him from the club and saw the bones to the single land is carried up and slowly keep us looking on my mother. Break it generous, he more than he and let the peasant be. It's every time we keep a spawn.